Now it is also noteworthy to mention that Samson had sown seeds of betrayal, and as a result he had reaped what he had sown. God had anointed Samson to defeat the Philistines, not to join them through forbidden marriage. Since Samson had betrayed God, all the Philistine women whom he had loved betrayed him. God had to stir up trouble to get him back right on track. The first Philistine woman whom he had fell in love with was from Timnah. Samson had a great wedding feast for her, and at the feast he tells a riddle. And he challenged the Philistine men that were there to answer the riddle. If they could solve the riddle, Samson promised to give garments and clothes to them. If they didn't answer, they had to do the same thing to him. So they forced Samson's wife to get the answer to the riddle from Samson. She told Samson that she would keep the answer to herself, but she betrayed him by giving the answer to the Philistine men. So Samson becomes very angry. He goes and kills some Philistines so he could take their garments and clothes to pay off his debt to the Philistines. Because his wife had betrayed him, he leaves her. But when he comes back to her, he finds out that she was given to his companion to marry. He becomes very angry. So to get back at the Philistine, he catches foxes, ties torches of fire on their tails, and he has them to run around and burn up the Philistines' property. Now they retaliated against what he had did by killing his would-be wife. Samson was also betrayed by another Philistine woman from Sorek. Her name was Delilah. She tricked him into telling her the secret to his strength. She learned that the secret to his strength was his hair couldn't be cut. If his hair was cut, it would violate his Nazirite vow, and his strength would leave. So while Samson was asleep, she cut his hair. She also had the Philistines to come to arrest him. Since his strength was gone, he couldn't fight off the Philistines. The Philistines took Samson. They blinded him and made him a slave. And at the end of his life, they brought him to the temple of their false Philistine god, Dagon. In the temple of Dagon, Samson was mocked and made fun of by the Philistines. Now while Samson was between two of the pillars of the temple of the Philistines, he prayed for his strength to come back one more time so he could defeat the Philistines. It's very important to note here that while Samson was a slave, his hair had started to grow back. Yet it wasn't his grown back hair which had given him his strength back, but it was his prayer of restoration. And Samson's prayer as well was a prayer of repentance, because God honored his request and answered his prayer. God will always answer the prayers of those who are truly sorry for the mistakes they have made or for the life of sin and rebellion they have lived. Now I believe that Samson prayed to God to restore his strength, not just so he could get revenge for what his enemies had done to him, but he wanted God to restore his strength so that he could obey the Lord and do what he was originally called by God to do, and that was to defeat the Philistines. God heard his prayer and gave him strength. And as a result of his restored strength, he was able to pull down the temple of the Philistines. Samson ended up killing more of Israel's enemies than he did during his entire lifetime.